I've watched a couple of them when they were like softball stuff. You're right. They basically just gave up.
That's all right. What's it get?
Testing.
Right there. Good evening. The time is 7:04 p.m. and I would like to call to order the March meeting of the Southampton County School Board. We have 7 of our 9 members present, so we do have a quorum. The agenda was included in your board documents. Is there a school board member who needs to add an item to the agenda tonight? If not, then the agenda stays, the agenda is approved as presented. You had in your school board documents the minutes from the regular meeting in February, from our school board work session, that was the 26th of February, and from the public hearing and special meeting on March the 4th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Yes, Dr. Goodman?
Yes.
On page 2, I think it's just a typo on the motion to approve the bills. It just says that Dr. Tyndall and I sustained in voting, it should be abstained.
Okay, did you get that, Ms. Artis? Are there any other corrections? Could we have a motion then to approve the minutes as corrected? Thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Smith. A second by Ms. Bunn. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Then the minutes have been approved. We have no recognitions for tonight. So that means that we're down to the public comment period of our board meeting. Although Virginia law does not require us to hold a public comment period, the Southampton County School Board chooses to do so because we believe it's important for us to hear from our community members. We value the input that we receive from the community, and we recognize the importance of hearing from the public concerning issues that affect the education of the children in our school system. But remember that the public comment period is just that, it's a time for citizens to comment and express their views. Therefore, please do not expect board members to respond to comments or to answer questions during the public comment period. We encourage public comments, but we do have some rules that we ask, or guidelines that we ask people to follow. First, you should have signed up for public comment period in the foyer when you first entered. That each speaker has a 3-minute time limit, and that will give us time to make sure that we can hear all the speakers and take care of the necessary school board business. We do have a visible timer that will help speakers keep up with the time they have left. Speakers may not yield their speaking time to increase the speaking time of another person, so it's 3 minutes per person. We ask anytime persons speak that they address the school board, not the superintendent or not other people in the audience. So we had nobody to sign up for public comment period tonight, which means we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which would be the action items. And the first action item is the financial report and payment of bills. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Carr will come forward and make that report. Ms. Carr?
Oh, I'll go back to it. Okay.
Good evening, all present tonight. If I can bring your attention, please, to the preliminary expenditure report for the month of February. Our revised local operating budget for the current year is $35,868,998. Our expenditures through February 29th totaled $19,297,035.02. This leaves us a balance of $16,571,962.98. Please note that as of the date of this report, 53.8% has been expended from the operating budget. The February bill list has been attached to the agenda for the board's approval tonight. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Carr?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we pay the bills.
So we have a motion by Mr. Smith, a second by Mr. Rogers, that we pay the bills as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Was it Mr. Rogers?
Ms. Lane.
No, I'm sorry, Ms. Lane. Okay, so it was a second by Ms. Lane. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. In my haste to get to action items, I overlooked matters from previous meetings, and the item is the BSBA 2024 Tidewater Regional Spring Forum. That event takes place on, remember the date? April 25th. If you are interested in going, please let Ms. Artis know. So Ms. Artis has the information about that. If you would like to go, please let her know. There's the city of Portsmouth is hosting this year, so we'll be in Portsmouth. And Dr. Shannon will make sure that our student artwork is there, because at the Spring Forum, the schools in the area have students submit their artwork, and the artwork is judged. So it's April 25th, Portsmouth City is the host. If you're interested in attending, let Ms. Artis know, and Dr. Shannon will be responsible for making sure our student artwork is delivered. Okay. So then now we're back to action items, and the second action item is the proposed operating budget. And as you know, Mr. Smith chairs that committee, and Ms. Bunn also serves on that committee. So Any comments, Mr. Smith, before Dr. Shannon makes her presentation?
No.
Thank you. So, Dr. Shannon?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, we have our budget book, and, Ms. Carr is going to come forward and discuss it.
Good evening again. If I can bring your attention to the proposed operating budget that you have in front of you. This is being presented for your approval tonight. And the following items have been incorporated as we discussed in our budget work session meetings. We have included a minimum 5% increase for all of our employees. We're raising the beginning teacher salary to $47,500. And it also includes a 12.5% increase for classified employees whose beginning salary is based on the minimum wage. Additional positions incorporated into the budget are 1 technology resource teacher at Riverdale, 1 special education teacher at Nottoway, 1 special education pre-K teacher division-wide, 1 reading specialist at Southampton Middle School, 1 paraprofessional for in-school intervention at Riverdale, 1 kindergarten instructional assistant at Riverdale, 1 paraprofessional to serve as a parent liaison at Southampton Middle School, 1 webmaster for division-wide, and 5 school bus aides. Increases in our benefits, including Social Security, life insurance, health insurance credit, and disability benefits as they relate to salary increases across all categories, and for our additional personnel. There was also a 3.5% increase in health insurance benefits. Under our instructional needs, we included an increase of $144,436 for contracted international teachers, $93,762 for special education regional tuition, $2,450 increase for special education travel, $1,288 increase for special education materials and supplies, an $18,749 increase for textbooks, $506,050 increase for software and online instructional programs, $42,000 increase for technology materials and supplies, $20,000 increase for internet services. We also increased our legal services by $35,000. Our contractual services for items such as VSBA and time and attendance software was increased by $29,400. Under recruiting and retention services, we have an increase of $50,500 for services and materials. This is for job fairs, professional development, background checks, and our course reimbursements. We also have a $25,000 increase in educational news media for flyers and pamphlets and online ads and digital equipment. Under our operational needs, we have a $3,000 increase for insurance on vehicles, $155,270 increase in diesel and gasoline expenses, a $15,000 increase in purchase services related to bus repairs, a $73,000 increase in service contracts, a $362,370 increase in electrical costs, a $34,027 increase in water and sewer services, a $12,000 increase in telecommunications, a $27,250 increase in property and liability insurance, a $20,000 increase in professional services, and a $500,000 increase for mold prevention and mitigation. Now, these are just the increases that we discussed at the last meeting, and as you look in your budget book, you'll notice the same reports that we gave you at the last meeting. There is also some revenue information. We're currently going to use the Senate's version. The General Assembly did approve a budget, but I have checked with the State Department as late as 6 o'clock this evening, and they have yet to post the numbers. So, of course, the revenue will change, and we know that, and also probably our expenditure budget will change and that will all be brought back to you in June for final approval. So if you'll take a look at the page that is marked, it's called the Local State Categorical Operating Budget. And this is how we submit the budget along with the line item budget to the county. So I just wanted to go over what some of the categories represented. So the 61,000 category, this category includes our salaries and benefits for all of our instructional personnel, including teachers, guidance counselors, librarians, our teacher assistants, our principals, our school level clerical staff, our instructional supervisors and their clerical staff, as well as supplemental pay for teachers and club sponsors. Also included in the 61,000 category are instructional contracted services for speech, special education, regional tuition, the governor's schools, dual enrollment, summer school, educational materials and supplies, and textbooks. So you'll see the increase there is for the 61,000 category, which is not shown, I'm sorry, on your report, but that increase is $1,896,150 increase in the 61,000 category. This increase includes the cost related to the minimum 5% salary increase and related benefits for all instructional staff, the cost of the minimum wage adjustment for our teacher assistants and clerical staff, the cost to offset the increase in the substitute teacher pay, the cost associated with the addition of one special education teacher, one reading specialist, one special education pre-K teacher, one paraprofessional for in-school intervention, one kindergarten assistant, and one paraprofessional to serve as parent liaison. Also included are the costs associated with the increases for the international teachers, the special education regional tuition, travel, materials, supplies, and textbooks. So I am repeating myself, but these are, just wanted you to know where your increases were categorized as far as the report that's going back to. All right, under the 62,000 category, we are requesting an increase of $223,825 in this category. This category includes salaries and benefits for the Office of the Superintendent, School Board, Human Resource and Finance, as well as school nurses, social workers, and the school psychologists. Expenditures in this category include legal services, auditing services, recruiting services and supplies, medical and laboratory supplies, office and media supplies and services, and contractual expenses for administrative software for recruiting, time and attendance, and VSBA services. So the increase here also includes the cost relating to a minimum 5% salary increase and related benefits for all employees in this category. Also a $35,000 increase for the legal services, which we mentioned, the $50,500 for recruiting and retention, the $29,400 for contractual services, and the $25,000 for educational news media. As you go down to category 63,000, which is pupil transportation, we are requesting an increase of $453,046 in this category. This category includes salaries and benefits for our bus drivers, car drivers, and aides, our bus garage staff, our transportation supervisor and administrator and their clerical staff, our dispatcher, and our router. Expenditures in this category include gasoline and diesel costs, bus and vehicle supplies and services, our insurance on our fleet, and office supplies. So as mentioned before, this increase in this category includes the minimum 5% salary increase, also includes the minimum wage adjustment for our bus drivers and special needs drivers, along with the costs associated with adding the 5 school bus aides. Expenditure increases include the $155,270 for gasoline and diesel, the $3,000 for insurance on vehicles, and the $15,000 for purchase services. Our next category, which is $64,000 under operation and maintenance. This category includes salaries and benefits for our custodians, our maintenance staff, our maintenance supervisor, administrator, clerical staff, as well as our security officers and administrator. Expenditures in this category include utilities, which include our electric, heating, water, phone, and postage, repair and maintenance services for equipment, copier rental and maintenance, property and liability insurance, and janitorial supplies. We are requesting a increase of $711,739 in the 64,000 category. And again, this increase includes the cost related to the minimum salary of 5% increase, and also the minimum wage adjustment for custodians. The expenditure increases in this category include $73,000 for service contracts, the $362,370 for utilities, $34,027 for water and sewer services, $12,000 for communications, and $27,250 for property and liability insurance. Our next category is $66,000 site improvement. This category includes expenditures for services and supplies as they relate to the improvement of our buildings and grounds. Such services may include painting, replacement of flooring, refinishing gym floors, landscaping, and purchasing of non-movable equipment. We are requesting an increase of $520,000 in the 66,000 category. Expenditure increases in this category include $20,000 for professional services and $500,000 for mold prevention and mitigation. The next category, $67,000, is for debt service. This category includes expenditures for debt service as it relates to Southampton County Public Schools. We receive this information from Southampton County each year. The FY 24-25 budget includes the following projects: Riverdale Elementary School roofs, the Energy Performance Project, and school buses. The county is requesting an increase of $55,286 in the 67,000 category, which includes the cost to finance the purchase of 5 new school buses. Our last category is $68,000. This category includes salary and fringes for all technology staff, including our technology resource teachers, technology specialists, and support staff. Expenditures in this category include costs relating to the purchase of software, hardware, and technology supplies for all departments, and the costs related to providing internet access to all students and staff. We are requesting an increase of $699,852 in the 68,000 category. This category includes the costs related to the minimum 5% salary increase and related benefits for all technology staff, and the addition of 1 technology resource teacher and a webmaster. Expenditure increases in this category include $42,000 for technology materials and supplies, $506,050 for software programs, and $20,000 for internet services. So now, as you see at the bottom line, the total requested local state operating budget for the 24-25 fiscal year is $40,173,261. If you look at the breakdown at the bottom, first I want to bring to your attention that there's the state funding is projected at $24,046,833. And like I said before, this is based on the Senate's version, and it's based on average daily membership, an ADM that is, of 2,334.65. Non-resident tuition and federal funds for adult education are estimated at $104,300. We did not discuss this at the last meeting, but what we do is we put in $60,000 budget for our non-resident tuition, and the remaining are funds that we receive, federal funds for the adult education, which is included in our operating budget. Therefore, considering these sources of revenue, we will need $16,000, $22,128 in local revenue to balance our requested operating budget. This amount represents an increase of $3,417,934 in local funds over the current budget of $12,604,194. Now, if you'll turn over to the next page, I have included the other state programs and federal programs budget, and they are based on last information that I have from the State Department. They will change, you know, over the summer, because we do not get our final numbers for federal programs until the summertime. But we need to include them in our budget now, so we use what estimates we have at this point. So if you look at this category, then you'll see the local operating budget that we discussed at $40,173,261. We have state textbook funds. That's, we have local match in our operating budget, but these are actual, the state funds of $262,196. Technology state funds, $206,000. BPI at-risk 4-year-olds, that's a state program, $531,282. Early reading intervention, $83,592. Under Title I federal program, $658,790. Our Title 6B flow-through special ed is $665,105. Title II Part A for training, recruiting, and class size reduction is estimated at $97,618. Our vocational special education, our Perkins funds are estimated at $51,997. And then our preschool incentive, which is for special needs, is estimated at $14,712. So this gives us a subtotal of $42,744,553. Now, the food service program that is operated independently is estimating revenue of $1,549,148. So this gives us a grand total with all of our programs of $44,293,701. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Carr?
I do have one on that last page, Ms. Carr. The BPI at-risk 4-year-olds,
Yes, sir.
it's almost double. Why are we projecting so much extra revenue there? Is there a change?
What's your question, Mr. Rogers?
The BPI at-risk 4-year-olds from the state was $294,028 this year, and is projected at $531,282 next year. And just curious why that category increased
Yes,
so
sir,
much.
certainly. What they do is they base that on a number of slots that we're approved for, and I believe the current year is like 50-some slots, and it's going to 70, I don't know the exact, but it's 70-some slots. So that was a projection based on that.
Thank you.
So then it's based on an increase in the number of slots?
Of number of projected slots for BPI, yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Mr. Smith?
I think that we've been able to put together a need-based budget. And, I think this is what we need to put out there.
So is that a motion?
I'd like to make that in terms of a motion that we accept the budget as presented tonight.
Second. So Ms. Lane, I got it right this time. So we have a motion by Mr. Smith, a second by Ms. Lane, to approve the proposed school budget for the 24-25 school year. Any discussion on the motion?
So now, once we approve it, then it goes to the board of supervisors to present it there. They say, sure, how much money you want, great. If they say no, then do we come back as a board and look at it again?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other unreadiness?
I just have one question about the webmaster, because we talked a little bit at the last session about webmaster versus contract. Is that put in such a category that it could be flexed for an actual personnel item or a contract with a web services company, or would we be tied to the actual position the way it's in the budget right now?
No, we would not. It's in the same, with it being in the same category of 68,000, we could either hire someone or we can look at contracted services.
Any other unreadiness? Well, then call the question. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Then the proposed school board budget is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
When is going to be presented to the board of supervisors? We have a date yet.
10th, if I'm not mistaken. We send it downtown tomorrow.
So the question for Mr. Smith was, when does it move on? So the answer was that we will send the paper copy, the proposed budget to the county tomorrow. And then usually there is a presentation, and Dr. Shannon's thinking that that presentation date is April the 10th. But she'll let us know definitely the date, the time that the school board will make its presentation to the board of supervisors. Thank you. So now we're down to section 7, which is the informational items. And the first informational item is the instructional report. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, we're going to have Ms. Rachel Dole come forward with the instructional report. But first of all, I want to say good evening to everyone and welcome to our school board meeting. We have successfully completed over half of our school year, and it's gone by rather quickly, but we are certainly learning, growing, and having fun together. So thank you all so much for all that you do. Tonight, Ms. Rachel Doyle will talk a little bit about bridging the gap as well as the Virginia Literacy Act. And with Bridging the Gap, we are one of 25 school divisions that BDOE partnered with last year with the Bridging the Gap pilot program. And with Bridging the Gap, one of the things that they are emphasizing is us trying to recover from the learning loss. It's centered around, COVID and again, just recovering the learning loss, as well as also we, with the Virginia Literacy Act and the training that we had from BDOE recently, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a little bit. We've talked quite a bit about chronic absenteeism and again, learning loss. So recently BDOE came to our school division. They hosted a Bridging the Gap conference, and we were fortunate enough to have them all to ourselves. So they came to Southampton and they spent a full day with us. They brought 4 personnel with them, and it was amazing. So the first half of the morning we had our administrators in the conference, and then the second half of the day we were able to bring in key teachers. Of course, we would love to have brought in every teacher, but because the conference took place when school was in session, we were not able to do so. But we did bring in key personnel so that they could hear firsthand from BDOE as well as some of their consultants what the expectation is regarding the Bridging the Gap as well as chronic absenteeism. And really they wanted to tailor a lot of what they are doing specifically to our school division. So because they were here with us, it was all about Southampton and it was all about our specific needs, and our staff was able to talk directly to BDOE on that particular day. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Ms. Doyle get started. I don't wanna steal all of her thunder. She has pictures and everything to showcase. So thank you so much, Ms. Doyle, okay?
It's funny because you're probably going to hear a lot of what Dr. Shannon said
Really? Okay.
in the presentation. So I apologize for any repeated information. Good evening, Dr. Goodwin, Dr. Shannon, board members, and all present. I'm presenting the March instructional report. The topics are Bridging the Gap and BDOE Network Implementation Series. Bridging the Gap is a BDOE initiative aimed at addressing student learning loss. Southampton County Public Schools was one of only 25 school divisions that volunteered to participate in the pilot during the 22-23 school year. Implementation has continued into the 23-24 school year. On February 27th, the BDOE Bridging the Gap team provided professional development tailored to our division. The morning portion was attended by district and building admin and included sessions on family engagement and communication, understanding absenteeism,
and VBAS, which is Bridging the Gaps Data Analysis and Communication System. Individual teachers chosen by building admin attended the afternoon session with administration. The afternoon topics included using data to inform instruction, parent communication, and student-led conferences. The next two slides are photos from that presentation. And just a little side note, the Bridging the Gap staff was very pleased with their visit. They reached out in their email and said that we were wonderful hosts. And they also seemed very impressed with our staff and their responses and involvement during the activity. So kudos to our teachers and staff that were present that day. The next topic is the VDOE Network Implementation Series. This 4-part series is designed to support division leaders in developing and implementing effective strategies to achieve the goals of the Virginia Literacy Act and increase literacy outcomes for students across Virginia. Session one of the Network Implementation Series took place on February 29th. Our team of 7 was given the opportunity to meet and collaborate with divisions from Region 2. We have additional meeting dates on March 13th, April 29th, and May 16th. During the first session, VDOE provided an introduction of the Virginia Literacy Act, a case study demonstrating implementation of the Virginia Literacy Act, time to begin development on our division literacy vision, the framework of the state division literacy plan, and instructions to support development of our division literacy plan. And we will attend session 2 this Wednesday in Chesapeake. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Doyle? Further comments, Dr. Shannon?
Great job, Ms. Doyle, tonight. Ms. Doyle is one of our curriculum specialists, and we are just excited about having her on our team. And we're excited about VDOE just being willing to come to Southampton and provide that personalized training for us. And it's actually something that they said that they're willing to continue to do. So we'll certainly be reaching out to VDOE. So thank you to our team, and again, thank you, Ms. Doyle.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the maintenance, operations, and transportation report. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Melvin is going to come forward and give that report. And to please the board, he will remain at the podium for the next 3 items on the agenda.
Good evening, Dr. Goodwin Board. What we have for you tonight, we have a list of our work orders that were performed over the last month, and they range from very basic to some pretty big repairs that were done throughout the division, so that you can review those at your leisure if you have any questions that I can answer.
So I guess the exciting part is the architect's presentation.
Yes, that is our next item here. We'd like to welcome up Mr. Josh Bauer from, I don't want to say it wrong now. CRA. All right. And again, this is Josh Bauer. He is our lead architect in this. In all are the 2 big projects that we've got started right now. And so turn it over and let you show show the information.
Great, thank you. Good evening, my name is Josh Bauer, Director of Urbana Associates Architects, or CRA, to make it easy. So tonight we're going to be talking about 2 projects, and that is going to be the Community and Parent Center, Information Center, and then also the Student Health and Education Center. So I said both of them correctly, so we'll start off there. So let's look at the name marks. So just to familiarize yourself with the Community and Parent Resource Center, this is on your school board. It's on your school board campus. Is everybody familiar with the building? I believe that the building was constructed around the first decade of the 20th century, so around 1904, so it's about 120 years old. So it has a little bit of maturity in it. And so what we're looking to do is give new life to this building itself. So here's a handful of images of the building. If you are familiar with it, a handful of years ago, the roof started to live a little bit beyond its useful life. And so what happened is there's been some water damage inside the building. There's some of the eaves, the gutters. You see some of the plaster has fallen, and actually a small portion of the one corner of the building that was a storage room has dropped down to the actual ground itself. But in our initial findings, that the building has good bones, and it has useful life in it. I know it's often a question is, Josh, is this a building that we should give some love to, or is it a building that we should raise and look to replace it? The easy answer is to raise and replace it. That is the easy answer. It's not always the correct answer. What we want to try to do is we want to try to preserve buildings that do have useful life, if we can. If we can do it in an economical fashion and give it new life, that is always a benefit to the community and the benefit to the history of the county. So we are in the schematic design phase. We'll talk a little bit about the schedule here in a minute, but we're basically just getting started. We're doing things like surveying the building, looking at the utilities, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, the roof, access. What challenges will we have as far as accessibility to the building? So this is a sketch, kind of showing the initial program. We're looking at a large open parent resource space along with 5 offices, a receiving area, men's, women's, boys and girls toilets, and a conference room. The building really does fit well when we're looking at the program so far that has been proposed. The building size is very accommodating for the program space itself. So where are we in the overall schedule? So we are in the schematic design phase. So we're doing some initial surveying. We're going to be meeting with staff, talking about the program to make sure that we're not having any gaps of program space. We'll be working on the exterior elevations. As we get out of this month and move to design development, that's where we start to really kind of get into the individual spaces, talk about finishes, looking at structure. MEP engineers will actually design the mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems. As we go into construction documents, which is really what the contractor is going to be building off of. Those are the documents that show a lot of detail and the information for them to build. That will happen in April and May of this year is our proposal. And then we're looking to, that will go through July, and then we're looking to bid the project in August. So we typically would recommend about a month of time, about 30 days or 4 weeks for bidding, and then we're looking at construction to be about 5 months of time. What we propose on projects like this is to use readily available materials. We're seeing a lot of delays. Even now, we're seeing delays in materials arriving on site. So what we want to do is make sure that we're designing this around materials that can readily be found, and that we're not going to have a 5 or 6 months. We say, hey, it's going to take 5 or 6 months for construction, and stuff doesn't even arrive for 5 or 6 months. So that would not be a good use of time or money. So that anything that we do, we try to design around materials that we can acquire quickly. We're looking at a total project budget of around $1 million. It does not mean that we're going to spend $1 million. What that means is that that is the maximum budget that we've been asked to do for this project. So as we really get into this, we'll start to really identify what the costs are going to be, and we'll be coming back with a realistic cost estimate. The thing is, Josh, what is cost? I don't know yet. We're just getting started in the process. But as we develop it, we'll be sharing. It's going to be blank. And the other thing is that we want to make sure that we're providing alternates, whether that's an add or deduct alternate, to try to make sure that we understand what our best costs, and that we're going to be throughout the process. So I know I ran through that quickly, but are there any questions on this piece before we start into the student health area?
Yes, Dr. Shane, I was just wondering, could you give us kind of an idea of what you plan to have operating out of this building? We've got some office space, we've got parent resource center. Do you have a vision for what will be going on within the building, just so I can relate it to what the floor plan shows us?
One of the things we're trying to do is to replace the existing Title I building. The existing Title I building it basically sits in the road office. take computer classes, you know, learn, I guess like learn things like how to teach their child to read, or how to work with their kid in math, or just different things that we will do to assist parents. So more than anything, it's a parent resource center. We'll have different books there for parents that they can check out, some that they can have. And then we, of course, need the office space. And that office space is, you know, still kind of up for debate who will or will not be in the office. But right now, the plan is to have the federal programs department, the majority of that department in that particular space.
Thanks. And I think the other question I've got is if we run into concerns with any cost overrun, have we thought about what our contingencies are if we come back in a month or so and this is a $1.1 million project instead of $1 million project? Where do we see having the flexibility to handle that?
So I think what happens in that instance is we will have the additions, you know, and the add-ons. When he mentioned add-ons and deductions, that's what we'll have. So what'll happen is the architect will normally, and I've not even worked with this architect before, but normally what they'll do is they will draw up a schematic and they'll have costs associated with that particular design. And then with that particular design, they'll say, okay, if you want to remain in this budget, this is what you can have. However, you know, we recommend this, and this, and those things may cost a little bit more, or there may be some things on the table that we have in the plan that we could live without. You know what I'm saying? And if we could live without those things, then we may not get, you know, plush carpet or what have you. We may get a lesser brand of carpet or a grade of carpet or something like that. You know, everything will still be quality, but it's really a collaborative effort between the school division and the architect when it comes down to remaining within that budget. And, you know, of course, that's the reason we give them a budget, but they too are going to professionally let us know what they think is best. And then we get to decide, and we mean the board, not me, but we'll bring it back to the table to the board, and you guys will talk to us and tell us, you know, hey, let's keep this, let's do away with that, or what have you. And that's if that instance occurs. Yeah, what is the correct term for that? Is it addendums? Change order. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't like to use that word unless it's credit change order. This is typically what everybody likes. Yes, it would be a change order, but the goal would be is to build that into the cost of the project. So typically we like to have around 5 to 8% of the actual cost of the total project. So of that $1 million, we would have money set aside for change orders. So that way our goal is not to come back and say, hey, you know, sorry, but it's going to cost an extra $300,000. That's what we do not want to do. So when we develop the budget, you know, we'll include everything from permit costs to other utility impacts, change orders, you know, anything that we foresee as being a cost. We want to try to build that in, so that way we don't say, okay, we're spending $1 million in construction. Oh, by the way, we have these other costs that we didn't put the factor. So we try to develop a holistic budget as we put the entire thing together, not just the piece of construction.
Shannon, this might be a silly question, but if you say the old building is being damaged by the trucks, is this new building going to be designed that the trucks do not hit?
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is and again, this is something we'll discuss with the board, but we may actually completely demolish that old building, and then that will allow more space for trucks to be able to, you know, to make the clearance to get through there.
Yeah, and that was gonna be my next question, is looking at the footprint of it, when you said our goal is to replace the type of building, to have the functions that are in there, to be in the new building. If we remove it, then we get rid of the truck issue, but it also opens up parking. If it's a parent resource center, right now, we don't have much in the way of parking there. So it would allow us then more of a footprint to be able to have a nicer, more welcoming entrance, a parking front, signage. So that would, and then the next question would be, do we figure in the cost of removing that building as part of the whole project so that it's all inclusive?
The Title I building that you're talking about now is the one that's right under
the white building that, that's beside the old school board building.
But yes, Ms. Tindall's at the bottom. Yeah, okay.
Yes, right
That was
across
what I
the
thought,
road.
but
Are there any other
There's
questions
some
on?
questions from board members or comments from board members.
And I appreciate you, speaking to the condition of the building that it's currently in, because of course, when we look at it, you know, that's one of the things we're looking at is, it's kind of shocking when you first see it and think, okay, how much money are we gonna invest in that? But I do understand, I mean, if it's gonna be no more cost effective to remove the building and start fresh, if we can preserve what's there, that's wonderful. And maybe, because I guess if we started new, then we would have other coding issues we'd have to deal with, because we have to do construction and all of the requirements that would come with construction as opposed to renovation. So if we can do it within the same budget, it is nice to be able to preserve that.
Yeah, well, I can't say that it would be less expensive to do a new building. It definitely would be easier to do a new building. And easier is not always the best path.
I started to say, it's just, Mr. Grant, I can't hear what he's saying. What was
Sorry,
your comment?
is that better? I move around a lot, so I try to. Is that better?
It's okay to move around, but I heard you respond, but I couldn't.
Since the answer is to do a new building would be easier. I said easier is not always the best path. So unless we find something in our survey that says, oh my goodness, this is not good, then we would recommend proceeding on the path that was already established.
Thank you.
Okay, is that better?
I think we heard that.
Okay, good. I'll stay closer.
Because
so-
our initial goal, of course, is to try to preserve the historic building that's been around for a century. So, so if at all possible, we do want to use the historical building, and that's where we'll start.
Okay, unless there's any other questions, we'll move on to the student health building. So this building would be a new building, a new pre-engineered metal building, which would be located right directly adjacent to your baseball and softball field. So this is so from a standpoint of staying there with the high school to the right-hand side, but baseball and softball to your left, it is a relatively flat space, which is always wonderful when we're trying to build a building. Flat is good. So this is where we're proposing to place it. I said directly adjacent to the baseball and softball, and propose to at least have walking paths from the parking lot and also from the high school to be able to get to the building. One of the things that we'll be working through in the design is, do we have any paths to anywhere else, and what is the area of perimeter around the building itself? What you can see here is that we're proposing to at least place a path around the building, because we'll have multiple points of egress into the student education spaces and the multi-purpose room, and also there for the concessions. So the floor plan, the initial program is to have the large purple space on the top is the multi-purpose space. On the bottom right and left are the student education spaces that will have benches inside of them. Those are the blue, the men's and women's. On the inside of that, the gray spaces are the men's and women's toilet rooms. And in the center is your concessions, and then just above that would be your storage / laundry space. So the idea here is to have, this is roughly about 100 by 70 building. So we're, and as I was saying to Mr. Milby earlier, is that we just bid a building almost identical to this in size. So we feel that the budget is reasonable. There may be some economics that we need to do in order to be able to make it work with the budget. But so we over at Amherst, we literally building almost identical in size. It's 120 by 60. We just received bids on last Thursday. So what could the building look like? Here's just some initial renderings of the exterior. So we're looking at having your swing doors along with your coiling door in the center, and windows to allow daylight to come into the space. In the multi-purpose room, we would have 2 coiling doors or garage doors to be able to allow large equipment coming in and out of the space. And this is potentially what the building massing could look. So we're looking at one hip, or gable, kind of running down the center, trying to keep the structure as simple as possible. There's kind of two ways that we could look at this. One is to create a pole building that would be made out of wood, that would have wood trusses as one path to go. Another one is to have a pre-engineered metal building that would be all steel. One of the things that we're looking at is possibly to look at bidding it both ways to see what could be the best use and the best dollars that we could achieve on this project. So again, the project budget is around $750,000. We're looking at about an 7 to 8 months for design and approval. As I was saying earlier, is that one of the things that can often be a challenge is getting through the land development piece, because this is a new building, and we are disturbing grass to create the building there. So there may be additional time in the schedule needed for from approval from the county, from county planning, and then DEQ from a stormwater standpoint. From everything that I've been told, the county has absolutely been wonderful to work with from a planning standpoint. So what we hope is that we can move through the process as part of the overall design and go out to bid for this project in September, and then be constructing it between October and February of next year. The goal would be is to have it ready for spring sports and other activities happening on the campus in the springtime is what our goal is. So any questions on this building?
Any questions from board members? I guess my question is, so by the next board meeting, what kind of report, what kind of progress can we expect to see? What will Mr. Miller be telling us next month about this project?
Hopefully he's saying how wonderful it is to work with the architect. Would be a great start. But by the time we should have a good assessment of the existing building, along with we'll be talking with, so our plan is to talk with planning and try to get a real idea for the schedule. So we'll be able to give you an idea of an updated program, make sure that we are meeting the program, any surprises that we found so far in the overall survey of the building and or the site, and then also a better update on the schedule. So again, we're more than happy once a month to be able to provide an update over the next couple months on the project.
Questions from other board members?
What's the space currently? Not used?
Which space is this?
The space where this building would go, is there not?
Currently it's open land, correct?
Okay. And so do we anticipate the locker rooms being able to be used for spring and fall sports? Are we thinking football and baseball? And where I'm going with that question is, because we've got it in a location that's close to the baseball fields, that's wonderful, but then I'm looking at the distance to the football field. If we were to use it for football teams coming in, would it be better to have it more centralized between the two fields? And what does the field look like in between those two? It must not be as favorable. I heard you say that this was very flat there, and I know that it is. That's a wonderful flatness.
Just generally, your high school site is actually relatively flat. I'm doing a project right now in Stanton, and there's no flat site in the entire town. One thing that we recommend on any field house would be to make the locker rooms available for whatever sport's playing at the time. It's not uncommon for sports teams to want to move in and make that their home as opposed to what's in the high school or middle school. So we would recommend is to make them so that way that wherever's located at, that whoever's playing is able to use that to use those locker rooms for the event. Where it's located at, we're certainly happy to look at other locations if that's desirable by the board.
Did that answer your question?
It does, and we had the athletic director weigh in on it as well, and we probably should have them involved to make sure that we put any location of concern on. Because the other, the part that goes along with that is we've got the restrooms attached to it, and currently there's a gate in between where the football field is to be able to access those restrooms. If you were gonna use it for football games, you have to then have that gate open so that the whole complex is open. If we were to put it in the center, could we make it where it's accessible for our games as well?
But That's true, but I think we need to keep in mind that we're calling this a student health center and not a field house. So it also has to be accessible for other uses, because we might want to house something else in that building, since we are trying to build like our allied health programs. So the building might be used for something other than, sports.
Right. And I understand that too, and it seems like if we were gonna use it for something like that, that we still want it to be more centralized, was just right, that's just.
So then one of your, one thing I guess we're asking you to do is to perhaps look at other places on the campus that this student health and education center could be located in addition to the place, the spot that's already been identified.
Yes, ma'am.
So perhaps give the board some options in terms of where this building could be located, given the multi-purposes that it will be used for.
Absolutely, we'd be happy to.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, just, could you remind me the funds that we're using for this have to be expended by what date?
I'm not sure today. Not right at the top of my head.
Just trying to keep that in mind with the construction schedule, make sure that they align.
And also look and see if there's a possibility that in an extension.
Yes.
And I did appreciate you saying that you're designing it around materials that are available, so that we don't hit that brick wall of, we put this particular material in there, and now we're waiting for months to get this in, so thank you for being cognizant of that.
And we actually just received really fantastic news. So in previous, prior to 24, 23, 22, what we're seeing for the pre-engineered buildings was a 5 to 6 week design time for them to be able to come back to us with an actual design, and then 6 months of construction. And the positive news that we just received at Amherst is that they're looking at a total of 3 to 4 months of total time, including both design and construction for that. And so that's almost identical in size to what you're proposing. So we found that to be a very positive thing, that things are becoming more readily available, and so we'll keep that in mind with everything that we do in both projects.
Additional comments, questions? Thank you, and we're looking forward to an update at our next board meeting concerning progress that's been made. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.
The next item on the agenda has to do with school food service, and this is the first reading of a proposed policy. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, actually, Ms. Mills stuck around, so we can talk about it real quickly. But, again, it's a first read, and we, recently met with the Virginia Department of Education, and they made some recommendations for us to include in our policies, and so that's what we're doing. I think we attached the old policy and the new policy to the board doc so that you all can see the difference. And some of the language is like they, we will not do this or should not do that. And then they went back and changed a lot of the language and made it stronger and say things like it's prohibited to do this or prohibited to do that. So again, it's just a first read. So we have the old and the new so that you all can read it for yourself.
Okay, Mr. Melvin?
Dr. Shannon said it all. They wanted us to have language in our policy that reflected that of the Code of Virginia. Exactly the same. So other than two instances of adding prohibited, changing the written notice for lunch dues going to the student, it needs to go to the parent, having explicit language to cover the extracurricular activities, and then a better definition for fundraising within there. But the first 4 on there dealing with the sending out notices or will not do this or cannot do this, prohibiting from throwing away a lunch, prohibited from suing a parent over those things. All of those things, they really are a moot point right now with us being on the community eligibility provision. So they have to be in there. But we also have the caveat where we are not charging students for meals right now.
So this policy will come back to us next month for a decision. This is the first read of the policy. I think we just need to keep in mind that even though all students receive free breakfast and lunch in Southampton County Public Schools, we still have to have a policy that is compliant with the Department of Agriculture. So the changes here will make us compliant with what they're asking us to do. But please read it again before we vote on it next month, and if you have questions, now would be a good time to ask Mr. Melvin. Okay. I think we're good.
Thank you all so very much.
Come back to us again next month. Thank you. We are now down to student enrollment and teacher-student attendance. Dr. Shannon?
Sure. Currently, we have, I always say currently, but it's as of February's report, we have 2,476 students enrolled. The winner of our student attendance award is Maharan with 95.33%. And the winner of our teacher attendance award reward is Riverdale with 92.43%. So congratulations to the students and staff of both of those schools.
We do have school calendars from each school. So those calendars are included for you to look at. So make sure that you look those over and attend events as your schedule will permit. So the next item, we're down to section 8 of the agenda, which will be matters from the board. So Ms. Lane is our representative for the Appomattox Regional Governor's School. Ms. Lane?
Good evening, everyone. As representative of Appomattox Regional Governor's School, we meet monthly. January the 11th was the last meeting, and the upcoming meeting is this Thursday, the 14th. A few things are happening at the Governor's School. They have a Dare to Be a Dragon program. They have a Key Club. They have an interaction canned food drive. There's a proposal at this school that they would like to add an additional Spanish teacher, because currently they have 3, 4, and 5 are taught. Spanish 3, 4, and 5 are taught at the regional school. They want to add a new teacher. Her name is Christine Miller. She would like the school to add an AP Spanish language and culture into the curriculum. By adding this AP curriculum, it would add a college credit and a career advancement certificate. They hired a new teacher, a theater teacher. They are proposing a 2% raise for their teachers. The proposed calendar was spoken about for the 24-25 school year. They had one building issue with the current rain that is has been upon us for the last 3 months. They have occurred a basement flooding issue, which they have people on it. They really had a issue that they had to go down and really suck all the water out of the basement. It was that rough. So with that said, they have got a crew and they're investigating this problem. I think it's coming from the top going to the bottom of the roof. And they want funding for a new soundboard. This was something new to me because I am not a technological person. What is a new soundboard? They had to explain that, and that is something that they need, and it's very expensive, and we're gonna vote again on purchasing a new soundboard. And again, the upcoming meeting will be Thursday, March 14th, 2 o'clock in Petersburg.
Thank you, Ms. Lane. I have asked Ms. Hobbs to represent us on the CSTEP board, so we will look forward to having a report from CSTEP next month. So now pursuant to section 2.2-3711A1 and 2 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, the board, upon a motion and a second, will convene a closed session to consider personnel appointments, resignations, retirements, compensation, intra-district, student transfer request, out-of-district, student request, student discipline matters, and a legal matter concerning a vendor. So do we have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Lane.
Second.
A second by, I was right this time?
You're right.
So we have a motion and a second that we go into a closed session to consider those matters. After closed session, we will return to this area to take action on any items arising out of closed session. So all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you.